How did I become a pro landscape photographer, and how do I balance my full-time job with being a pro photographer and anyway having time for my family? I could ask a lot of questions by you, and also short questions like, what is more important, light or composition? And I will answer all that in this video. Hi my friends, very nice to see you. I'm blown away by all the questions I've got from you, and it was so hard to pick out the most interesting ones. Some of them are that interesting. I want to go a little bit more into detail, so there will come own videos about some of these topics. But some are so interesting and short to answer, perfect for this Q&A. So I would say let's go through the questions I've selected from you. And the first is, and that's interesting by the way, most of the questions I've got were all about gear, or which camera I use, or which lenses I use and so on. And one even sent me an email that he always pauses my videos short before I expose, just to find out which camera and lens I've mounted. And I'm always honest with you, it is not important, really. I mean, I never make any secrets here on my channel, so if you're really interested, I will link you my entire gear list down in the description, below in the video description of course, but again, it is really not important. We need gear of course, so it's important for me that I can rely on my gear, but I can get a masterpiece also with cheap gear. So my recommendation is for you, don't put all too much attention to gear, focus more on the really important things in photography, which is composition, light, timing, planning in landscape photography, and also the weather, things like that. Okay, another question I hear quite often is, what is more important, light or composition? And we have to be careful here, because depending on the circumstances, the answer could be a totally different one. So when our goal is to get a masterpiece, then we need both of course, composition and light. But when our goal is to get just a kind of wow image, an image that draws the viewers to the image, then light alone could already be enough. The only problem is when the composition is bad, then the viewer will not stay all along in the image. Just a quick example, I took this quick snapshot with my phone from my garden just some days ago, and the light was outstanding. We had a red sky, but the shot is worthless because there's a composition missing. And on the other hand, when our goal is to get a better photographer, I would say it is better to focus on composition, because it is a quite comprehensive topic and it needs time to get in and practice. And there are so many things photographers don't know about composition, and there will definitely come more about composition here on my channel in next time. I'm always engaged with composition. Okay, a quick question about my channel by Jane or Jenny. Sorry when I'm pronouncing her name wrong. Well, I got asked this so often. Why is there an advertisement logo up there? And the short answer is, it's just because of our crazy laws. And the thing is, whenever I show or mention a brand in my videos, I have to declare if it is an ad or not. So this is my Sony camera here for instance, and out on location you often see my raw light tripod. On my values you can find my Handheld logo and an f-stop logo on my backpack. And the thing is, I don't get paid at all for showing all these logos or for talking about these brands. But the law says here in our area that I anyway have to define if it is an ad or not. And this each single time when a brand appears in my video or when I say it. And I mean, that's simply not possible. But if I don't declare it, I would have to pay a quite big fine. So my lawyer recommended me the only way to get 100% rid of that, and this is to declare my entire videos as advertisement videos. When you're watching my videos, you're actually watching advertisement too. Totally weird, I know, but it is the only way for me to stay safe totally. And to be honest, I'm not sure if it is scaring the one or other when he's watching my videos for the first time here on my channel. Leave me a comment below if the logo was a problem for you or what your thoughts were when you saw it first time. Very interesting for me. Well, let's go to the next question. Some of you sent me even more questions, by the way, and Eric sent me even 10 questions, and that's really not the problem. The opposite is the case. Eric is a quite experienced photographer, and generally, I have to say, it is so fantastic to have a good mix of beginners at once and masters in my audience. Yeah, there are often really many good comments below my videos with additional useful tips, and this is just because it is not a channel only for beginners. Yeah, that's great. Well, and Eric wants to know how I get motivated to go out in the rain with snow, midges, dirt and so on. And I have to say, I don't have any problem with rain, to be honest, because I love rain. On the one hand, it helps me to bring out all the contrast when everything is wet. Circular polarizer is our friend here, by the way. And on the other hand, I know that there is no one else out there when it's raining. So I can 100% focus on my photography without getting distracted. And this might sound cruel, but I don't like people too much around me when I'm working on a composition, at least not non-photographers. It is just, when I'm working deeply into a composition, it could happen that I don't hear when anyone says something to me, so when people greet me or something like that. And I know that it would be impolite when I don't greet back. So when I see people around me, I do so hard to focus on my photography because I don't want to be impolite. Totally crazy, I know, but that's why I really love photography in rain. I really don't need an extra motivation, therefore. Also not for the snow, by the way. The only obstacle I see with snow is in winter. When there is no snow, it is easy to park a car beside the road anywhere. But in winter, you would get stuck. And so, snowfall often comes over the night. The really lovely winter wonderlands are often early in the morning. And guess what? To a time when even the parking places didn't get winter service. And this can get frustrating when you get up early in the morning, you drive around and there's not one parking possibility while the landscape is just amazing. Right? The only way to overcome that is actually to accept it how it is. We can't change it really. And sometimes it works anyway, also in winter, that I come home with a really strong image. And dirt. Dirt is not really my problem, to be honest. That's more the problem of my washing machine. And midges, they can get annoying, especially in the end of late summer or so at the lakes. But I don't really need an extra motivation. Therefore, they're annoying. That's it. It's not the biggest problem. Just one thing. What's really hard sometimes is to get up early in the morning. And quite interesting, and this was a big problem for me for years. I always press the snooze button on my alarm clock. And that's not good because you will get too late maybe to your spot. But then I bought one of these fitness trackers here because they have really nice feature of this vibrating alert, and that's really cool. And I can't remember actually that I've ever pressed snooze on this here, to be honest. So it's simply another way of waking up, and also my wife is grateful because the alert doesn't wake her anymore. So if getting up in the morning is a problem for you, have a look at something like that. I will link you mine down in the description. Okay, so what could I ask as well? Yes, the bee photographer wants to know which focal length I use most in landscape photography, and I have to say, in most cases I photograph in a mid-range of 24 to 70 millimeters, and this is also the reason why I recommend beginners when someone wants to buy his first lens or one lens only, that they buy a standard zoom lens, so 24 to 70 millimeters for full frame or APS-C, 17 to 15, or for micro four thirds it would be 12 to 35 millimeters. And I really like this focal range, but basically I never choose a focal length in the first step. The focal range is just the result of whatever my composition needs. And this depends really totally on the composition, and I made already a video about how to choose the right focal length outdoor location. I will link it up there for you. Then a question about my van from Andy. Does it have four-wheel drive? No, it doesn't. Short answer. It would be better to have a 4x4 edition of it. Last year I nearly dipped over because the road in the curve was simply too steep on an island in Croatia. So I would suggest it's better, yeah, to have a 4-wheel drive edition. But the van itself is really fantastic. I mean, I have everything that I need, and I don't drive extremely steep roads all the time. So I'm happy with it as it is. By the way, unfortunately, I had to cancel my last bigger road trip. There was severe weather in an area I wanted to go, and there were big mud flows. So when I searched Google after it, and I see all the pictures from there, yeah, I'm just happy that I didn't drive there some days before when that happened. And yeah, I mean, it's so sad for the area there and also the people living there. And so no road trip in the moment, but I'm currently focusing on the next big trip, high up in the mountains. I plan to go there in some weeks from now. I don't know exactly when, and that's even a quite big advantage of having a van. I'm really flexible here. I will plan my road trip right now, straight after I finish this video here, and when I'm happy with the weather, I will drive there. But I have to say that the weather is totally crazy at the moment. So currently we got thunderstorms nearly every night and often hail as well. I will have also to check weather maps not only for fantastic light and weather conditions, but also for safe conditions. So fingers crossed for the next big trip in some weeks. Okay, a quick question here from Paul. Do you change lenses in rain? Yes, I do. And yeah, just turn away from the direction where the wind comes from so that my body gives a kind of protection. And yeah, I try to be quick. 10 Stream Photograph asked, what if you don't have time for photography? And yes, I mean, when I don't have time, I can't photograph, obviously. I think the question is more how to avoid having no time. And I would say it is all about having a good time management. I will tell you later a bit more about that according to another question, but basically it is really all about time management here. Sebastian wants to know if shooting f/16 leads to acceptable results for printing for me, because he faces a lot of diffraction and his image gets unusable when he is using f/16. Well, I shoot even up to f/18 without facing any problems, but on my experience it depends on 2 factors. First of all, it is all about the circle of confusion, and let's hold it quick and simple here. This means actually that there is a difference for which sensor size the lens got built. You can stop down full frame lenses more than APS-C lenses, for instance, and then it is all about the build quality of the lens itself. Good lenses have a better coating at all elements inside the lens, so when the aperture reflects less light, for instance, there's less light scattered to the center of the lens and we get less diffraction. I would recommend to test all the lenses just to find out how far you can go on all the apertures, all the lenses with your apertures without getting any problems, and I made already a video about that. I will link it up here for you. Then the next question I got asked quite often, I think. It is one of the most asked questions ever. Why is my channel in English? I think I mentioned this already in one of my videos a little bit. I'm a German native speaker, but I've never planned to start a YouTube channel. I got asked by English-speaking photographers to start one, and so I mean, yeah, it had been strange when the channel had got German then instead of English. I got asked that by photographers from Germany and Austria, and sometimes it feels a bit, like they would handle me as a kind of a traitor or so, because my channel is English and not German. Not everyone, of course. There are a lot from Germany and Austria, also Switzerland, who don't have any problem at all, and also with my Austrian accent. One, I think, he was from USA, and he meant I would be a mix of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Christoph Waltz. Not sure how he meant that. I don't think that I sound like them, but however, at least I like Austrian Apfelstrudel, by the way. Oh yeah. Well, the next question is photography based again. In which circumstances I shoot freehand without a tripod? Well, the short answer is when I have to be quick, when the weather and light situation force me to shoot freehand. And if it is not the case, I prefer to use a tripod, simply because it helps me to slow down, and this leads to better results, to be honest. And I made already a video about that. So for the long answer, with lots of more details, or watch this video up here, it is also all about if the gear of today, the technology of today, with amazing in-body stabilization, optical stabilization, if all that is made tripods maybe obsolete meanwhile. Okay, last question before we will talk about how I got the pro photographer. Here it is, and it was by Lucas, how to get better photos in summer. Yeah, summer is often handled as a nightmare for landscape photographers because sunrise and sunset are on crazy times, and the light is boring during the day. And I have sent a newsletter with tips about summer photography recently. I use my newsletter to serve some seasonal tips, to give additional tips to my videos. And you know, sometimes when I'm out on location, photographing and vlogging, I give a lot of tips there, but often I drive home then, and I just think it had been good also to include this or that tip or something like that. And although the video was already quite comprehensive, so I thought it would be even nice to give additional tips with my newsletter from time to time. Currently I don't really have a clear schedule here. I will have to get into that. There will definitely come a newsletter short before autumn, so with some autumn tips, but it could also be that there will come an additional one between us. So I also used the newsletter to ask for the questions for this Q&A video, and the biggest response really came from a newsletter. And I got already a lot of subscriptions already, or for the case that you haven't subscribed yet, there's a link down in the description to my newsletter. Well, just quickly, summer photography tips. And the biggest advantage I see in summer is time actually. So when I leave my office at 4 p.m. for instance, there's still 4 to 5 hours to sunset. This is usually enough to drive to a location, to hike up anywhere and to take a sunset shot. Of course, thunderstorms are our biggest enemy in summer, and at least this year in our area it's a bit too much, I have to say, nearly every night. So you can't sleep in the nights because it's loud, and then there's this extreme heat during the day. This doesn't make things easier, but usually this works really well, and I can really recommend going out after the office or also before. And also going up to higher layers is also a good idea. I mentioned already that I'm currently planning my next trip to a high alpine area because when you're really high up, the chance is quite high that you get clouds built there. During the day, also when there's clear sky predicted. I mean, it depends. When there's an extreme high pressure and dry air, it will get tricky, but anyway, the chances are much higher for getting interesting photography weather there, much higher than down in the valleys. And when it is really hot, waterfall photography can be so refreshing in summer. I would just not go there with harsh light when there's clear sky predicted. Go there in the early morning or in the evening when you have the waterfalls in shadow. And I made also already a summer photography video where I give many more tips. I will link it up here for you. Yeah, it's a quite old video, by the way, it's quite funny to watch. Okay, I got asked this question so often, and I always said I will hold it back till I have 10,000 subscribers, and now there are no excuses anymore. So how did I get into photography, and how did I get a professional landscape photographer? By the way, one related thing, I also got a lot of questions about how I earn money with landscape photography. I made already a video about that. I will link it up here for you. Well, how did I get the pro photographer? And to be honest, I never planned to get the pro landscape photographer. You know, I come from a quite artistry family. One of my uncles, for instance, designed the furniture for the Emperor of Austria. This was Emperor Franz Joseph. I mean the Emperor, not my relative. The name of my relative, the furniture artist, if this is interesting, was Heinrich Irmler. And he was the personal carpenter of the Emperor, and he designed most of the imperial furniture back then, for instance. And there were also lots of painters. There's even a far relation to Gustav Klimt, who was a famous painter here in Austria. And also my grandfather was a painter and an art professor. The most connection I feel to my grandfather actually, because I grew up with all his paintings, and I engaged a lot with composition and storytelling, and when I was a young boy already, really as long as I can think actually. And my dad is also absolutely talented with drawing, but he doesn't do it all too much, what is sad. The talent of using a brush and a pencil yeah, I have to be honest, it has completely passed by on me. I'm totally bad at drawing and painting. I tried it, but what should I say? The fine motoric is simply not there. But anyway, always understood how to create a piece of art theoretically. So the best thing that ever could happen to me was that I got into touch with the camera, because composition is totally the same in storytelling as well. So there are no differences on that point between photography and painting. Just the way how to execute is different. And I started with photography in my summer holidays in Venice when I was 12. And oh man, yeah, I really enjoyed it when I look back. But it was never planned to get professional back then. I just saw it as one of my youth hobbies actually. I had a lot of hobbies. I played the piano, I made sports, I programmed computer programs and games, and photography was just one of all these hobbies. And when I got older, I got into higher technical college, and when I finished it, I had to make a decision about how I want to earn my money in my life. And this was in the end of the 90s, so programming was a booming sector at that time. And you know how things are, and I want to be honest here. When I started a family, I was a bit scared about not earning enough money maybe, for offering my family a comfortable life or something like that. I'm not sure if this is normal, but however, I had these fears. My family got simply more important to me than my hobbies. So I threw away all my youth hobbies and just focused on making a career. Yeah, I mean, I had a job as a programmer. Beside that, I started my own business. And I studied informatics, and there was really not much time for photography. Yeah, really, the days were quite long. And I think there is generally nothing bad with making a photography break of a year or two in such a case. But if you want to do something like that, my tip for you is create an appointment in your calendar that you don't forget to return. The only problem for me was back then, I damaged my camera back then when I was moving like that. And I didn't have money for a new one, to be honest. And as digital photography got invented, at that time I wanted to wait till it got better than film photography. I was convinced that it would happen. But it took much longer than I thought. It is a bit like electric cars today, right? You know it is the future, but it will need some more years. So I made a quite long photography break. But while I did that, I came into touch with graphic designers and photographers who worked for my clients. And what I found out is that they didn't really collaborate with each other in a way as it would really be good for the end result, a web shop for instance. When you look at the web shop, there's also a kind of composition. You can use all the techniques we know from photography, especially visual weight and flow, to bring the people looking to areas what is important to sell finally in the end. But the biggest goal of photography designers was to develop a layout that looked nice for the web shop operator, and the photographers had the goal to shoot photos which looked nice for the operator. But the thing is, this thing should not just look nice, it should sell. And so what I did is I started to coach graphic designers and photographers about composition and to bring them a little bit together. I gave a lot of courses and workshops here to bring these things really together. And later when I came into photography again, and my son brought me back to photography actually, I think it was in 2014 or 2015 when the Sony A6000 appeared. My son fell totally in love with photography like me back then. And this was the point where I started to realize how good digital cameras have got during that time. And I bought a Sony A6000 and a Sony A7R. And I started to make a lot of photos I needed for my clients by myself with my A7R, and I started to photograph landscapes again. It didn't take long that people asked me to get a print or a workshop. And as I gave already coachings about composition, it was nothing new for me. So I got a pro photographer because people asked me. And interesting is, I didn't have a problem to take product photos for my clients with taking money. But I denied the first times when I got asked about prints and workshops for landscape photography. I think landscapes and nature, it was really always that place which I felt so much connected to, and but for relaxing, not for making money. So I wanted to separate making money and my relaxing hobby. I photographed landscapes always for myself, not for others. But as I got asked more frequently, I found a compromise which worked for me. I simply never take landscape photos for my clients. I mean, when I'm out on location, I just photograph for myself, and this is what I still do. And then I offer images over my web shop, which I like most. But when I'm photographing, I never care about if it will get sold well or so. This is really absolutely no priority for me. And this feels good. This feels really quite good, I have to say. And as I gave already always coachings in my company about how to sell online, I knew how to set up a business that works. I helped a lot of people to set up their business, but it was never planned to go professional for me, and I didn't need the extra money. I mean, it's always good to have extra money, right? But when I wanted just to have extra money, it had been much easier for me just to get some more projects for my company. It feels so fantastic when anyone appreciates my works as an artist that much that he wants to pay money just for having one of my prints up on his wall in his living room or wherever. And same with the workshops, by the way. The YouTube channel was also never planned. I just wrote funny stories on Instagram about how I took the photos, and people started to ask me to start a channel. And in the end, I got convinced by them. I thought it could maybe affect my art in a positive way when I talk about my works, when I reflect them, and when I explain what I do out on location. I also thought it could be interesting for the one or other out there. And then I bought an action camera for vlogging, which is the DJI Action. I had my Sony a6500 already, which I use for my office videos and also for some B-rolls. I mean, you know the rest of the story. I know the video is already quite long, but I got another interesting question related to that, what could be interesting for the one or other out there. And it was also asked by Eric, and it is all about which trick I use to combine my full-time job with landscape photography, and anyway having enough time for my family. And to be honest, if there is a trick, I don't know about it. I can just tell you what I do. So whatever I do, I try to focus 100% on that. So when I'm working in my company for a client, I just focus on that. I don't think about photography then or about my family. And when I spend time with my family, I just focus on that. And when I'm out for photography and vlogging, I also just do that. There is no place for something else there. And I think this is just my personal experience. I think that this also helps me to get things better, actually. My children are already adults, so it's definitely easier today. But when they were younger, we made so many hiking tours with them. You can easily combine or use family hikes for rough location scouting and come back in another day with an amazing light. So, and generally, landscape photography is not the biggest effort in the world. What I often do is I plan my photo tours when I make a break from working, in my lunchtime or something like that, or when I stop working in the evening. There is no need to go out for photography every day. One day planning, one day shooting, one day processing, for instance. I think I have a quite comfortable situation. I have my own company. I can plan my time by myself. But anyway, I have to consider the schedules of my clients, of course. I can't stay out for photography all day long, every day. What I do often is I shoot in the early morning, and after that I can work for my clients. And I could imagine that this would also work with a normal job, maybe, I think. Depends definitely on the job. Just talk with your boss. If I would be your boss, it would definitely not be a problem at all. We could even go out together for shooting then. Oh, by the way, I reached 10,000 subscribers recently, and I'm blown away. And this was just possible because of you. So thank you so much for all your support all the time. You know, each thumb up helped me massively, and also your comments. By the way, your comments are really, really important for me, and not only because of the algorithm, to be honest. It is not always so easy, to be honest, to produce a video each week beside my company, beside photography, beside giving one-to-ones. I totally love to produce videos for you, but sometimes it is quite hard, to be honest. I work long into the nights, and reading your comments is something I really, really enjoy. I'm always interested about what you think about the one or other topic. It's also interesting to read your questions. And yeah, I know the names already quite well from those who leave comments below nearly each of my videos, and also what they prefer and what not. So I really consider these things when I think about new videos, new topics, by the way. However, thank you so much for everything, and my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. If yes, please give me a thumb up, and don't forget to tune in next week. There will come a fantastic video as well. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.